when you compare what a musician does to something like a plumber or an electrician, it's easy to undervalue a musician because it seems to be like creative pursuits tend to be seen as more novel and more like a hobby, like, oh, everyone wants to play music, right? And by the way, I finished watching the show on Netflix about Spotify, and as you get further and further into that show, it makes you wonder more and more about where the lines of fiction and reality are, because you hear about the story from different perspectives that paint different parts of it in different lights. You're like, yep, you can understand this, how different people have a different take on what's happening. And then the end of the show is set in the future, and I'm like, I'm not sure what they're trying to say with this. Not sure. It's a strange one. What is the show you're talking about, Sis Sensation? It's called The Playlist, and it's about Spotify. It's a dramatization, and it gives me the impression it might be endorsed by Spotify, even though it's sort of critical of them too. And for all the critique there is of Spotify, and it's split with artists and creators, although obviously it's made the owners very wealthy, which is always a bit of a question when profit is involved, like how much is fair or something like that. There is an argument to be made that although Spotify takes this big cut and pays artists a certain amount for streams, they take so much less than the record industry does. It's something like 70% is the record industry. And so when I see these arguments about is Spotify good or bad, I do wonder, it's certainly good for exposure and access, there's no doubt about it, but in terms of giving artists a reputable means to make a living in a fair way, are they the villain here, or is the record industry? You know, to answer that question properly, you'd have to do a lot of research, which is something I haven't been doing. I'm just sitting there thinking about some of the questions when I watch this show, because I think there are definitely some questions that could be asked from that perspective. The answer is yes, both. It doesn't have to be this or that. Life isn't binary, says Rex with the long arms. Good point. You can put a percentage of the blame in either camp. It's such a weird question to answer. I don't think that musicians should be undervalued, because when you compare what a musician does to something like a plumber or an electrician, it's easy to undervalue a musician because it seems to be like creative pursuits tend to be seen as more novel and more like a hobby, like, oh, everyone wants to play music, right? You think it would be great just to play music instead of what you're doing, but would it? If you have a passion for music, then it's obviously going to be great to pursue, but if you take someone who enjoys music, they might find that making music is not for them. And so I think musicians should be valued for what they offer, because so many people enjoy music, and it's really strange how we can value music but not the musician as much. So when it comes to how much should they be paid for their work, it's really strange because it's harder to define minimum wage, how many hours did you put into working on this music. And the way that you get paid is very similar to what happens here on YouTube. Is it's about your success. If your music is successful, then you can get paid for it. And yeah, it's such a fuzzy area when you try and quantify things. And I don't know how you go about quantifying that, but I do know you can probably make the deal fairer or make music more accessible. Now, I think if you were to pay artists more and take less of that money, take more of the money out of the industry and more into the artist's hands, you can create more full-time musicians, which I think would make music flourish. Now, I say that under the knowledge that music labels, record labels, do facilitate a lot of benefits, a lot of utility for artists, but some of those things have become redundant now. Music is so much more accessible and easier to produce. You can create decent music with a laptop and some software now. So as technology has progressed, the access has lowered, and therefore it could create more jobs, and we could have more music, more niches, more enjoyment for people. There's a lot of music that I listen to that's very niche, and I often wonder about what the artists' lives are. They've got these incredible inspirations, they make beautiful music like what we're listening to right now, yet I'm pretty sure this isn't Lord Leviticus's full-time job. Yet here we are enjoying their music over and over again. And it makes me wonder, what if they were full-time? Sometimes in music, going full-time kills it. You can see this a fair bit in hip-hop. I've noticed a lot of hip-hop is about escaping the struggle of urban life, and so a lot of first and second records are really good. But then the inspiration for the music is kind of counteracted by the success, where the artists become wealthy and then they become apart from the origins of their inspiration, which was, life in poverty, let's say. So, you know, let's say you give your musician a full-time job, maybe it affects the quality of the music they make. You never know. But to me, it seems like there is more value in creating those opportunities than taking them away, right? Facts, they lose motivation because they left what inspired them, says Pirate and Pluto. Yeah, that tends to be, you know, my perception of how it comes across. There are some who have certainly not lost it, like Nas, for example, still killing it to this day. One of a rare breed, really. Jay-Z would be like another who once, you know, had built his wealth, kept, you know, putting out incredible material. So it's not a rule, but it tends to be a trend. If you get deep into the genre like I did, like 90s hip-hop, you can just find so many like great first records, and then like their career fizzles out as something's lost once they make the success, right? But then they have crazy ticket prices to concerts like Beyonce that just had tickets selling for 150k. You'll probably find when they sell for that much, it's gone into the reselling market, and it's incredibly predatory, and I believe in sort of creating more equal access. I've been going to gigs for a long time, and I've only ever gone to one of those paid for a golden ticket to go at the front, and that's because the other ones were sold out. Like, just out of principle, I wasn't interested in doing that. And then, you know, you get to go, be near the front, of course, that's great, but, like, you had to pay it through the nose to do it. And it really does just create a bit of more of a tiered society, where it's like, not everyone can have equal access to stuff, and that just rubs me the wrong way, that does. So did you enjoy the waffle? Want to hear more stories and thoughts? Check out the playlist link below if you want more videos like these, and of course subscribe to the channel to catch future ones, and go to linktree.xisuma.co if you'd like to find links to all of the other activities that I do, including playing guitar, making music, Minecraft videos, and much more. Go check out that link.